I'm here with John Michael Larkin. We're interested in finding out something about the old crafts. We know that you have the skill of making hen's nesting basket called a shimnog. John Michael Larkin was born in 1927, and we'd like you to tell us, what is a shimnog?
A shimnog comes down from the olden days, and that is when there was nothing in no building on farms or anywhere, only the dwelling house. So in those years they had to take in their hens at night into the dwelling house. In the morning, when the door be open, the hens would go all over the land and farm. And that time the farm around was very bushy and undeveloped, and they weren't able to get their eggs. I suppose if they got a third of their eggs, they'd be lucky enough. The older generation, I think this goes back to the 1700s. The old people started weaving straw and making hen's nest. It was a plaited form of the straw. When they perfected that, they used to leave out the shimnog every morning, or 2 and 3 shimnogs, around the dwelling house. And wherever the hens were in daytime, if they didn't lay in the morning around the house, they come back to the shimnogs and lay their eggs there, and they were able to collect all their eggs in the shimnog. And I remember myself, I was only 10 years of age when this old man, his name was John Darcy, he'd be from Bannickhill, and we were after a thrashing at home, and that time there was a lot of thatched houses, and they used to draw the straw and prepare it for the thatching of the house along. And he came in, and passing by, he used to have a little bit of land. It was divided land adjacent to our farm. And he said, oh, it was a terrible shame to be putting that in for bearing animals and all that. That's terrific straw. Well, he said, come here now, young fella. He said, I'll show you a craft, and nobody'll know how to do it but yourself. Well, that was when I was about 10 years of age. That would be about 1937. And I, sure, being a young lad, I like to see something new. And he started off and showed me, and he'd say, come here now and you see this, and I'll call now tomorrow morning again, and I'll do another bit with you. Which he did. And every morning he used to come in. I suppose it could have nearly taken a fortnight before it was completed. And out of that then, I started to make one on my own, and I perfected it pretty well.
And was it a difficult skill?
The start off would be very difficult, for you're working in the blind a bit to get in to start it. For you wouldn't fully see what you'd be doing. The ribs would be closing off your view to what you'd be doing, but not. I suppose when you're young, and it comes easier to you. But I made the shimnog. Where I lived, we had plenty of farmhouses. We got the yard in the old Burke's estate there, and there was plenty of houses in it. Now that land was divided. It was Burke Estates in Marble Hill. I made the shimnogs, interested in it, and I used to hang them up round about. And what happened, they forgot about their own boxes. And everywhere the shimnog, they used to queue up for the shimnogs. I'd have them maybe 2 foot high. And I often seen 2 hens in the shimnog laying at the one time. That time the straw was so good. Those shimnogs lasted for about 20 years.
Okay, and would most families have had one, or would you have made them for other people as well as for yourself?
Well, I never seen a shimnog until this old man showed me how it was made and how to do it. And I never seen a shimnog in any other premises.
And is there a special straw, or will any straw do?
Oaten straw. No, wheaten straw or barley straw wouldn't be. The oaten straw. But now, the straw today, the old threshing mill is gone from the scene. And the combine now that has come in is chopping all straw, even the oaten straw. And it isn't sufficient to make the shimnog. Now, to cut with the side, that would be an ideal way of preparing the straw for the shimnog. and cut it in a green stage and stuck it out normal the way it would season a bit.
Now the straw then would have been cut at harvest time, and would it be left aside then to make the shimnogs during the winter months, or would they have been done very soon after cutting the harvest, cutting the straw?
Well, in those years it was the side and the raping gear. That was the pair of horses and the machine that cut the corn in those years that I'm talking about. After the cutting, it would be all stuck in the field. There would be about 8 or 10 sheaves together, and it would be there for a fortnight or 3 weeks, depending on weather. And then it would be brought into the haggard and stacked. And I suppose it could be a month stacked before the thresher would come along and thresh it. But before that, I'm told, this old man told me, before the thresher mill came, they used to thresh the grain out of the corn themselves. They used to call it a flail, and they'd have a big stone in the barn and they'd have sheets down the ground to gather the grain. And 3 or 4 men would catch a handful of it and they'd beat it on the stone to knock the grain out of it. That was in the olden days, but the machines came in, I suppose they came in with the setting up of the Free State. They came in around that time. The mill would do a good job on the straw, threshing it, but they wouldn't chop it. It was a good straw for making a shimnock.
And when hen houses came on stream, because you said people didn't have hen houses way back, did that do away with the shimnog, or did you put the shimnog into the hen house?
No, the shimnog was left out around the yard, where the hens was always let roam around about. But they'd always come to the shimnog to lay, and you'd have them hanging out maybe 2 foot off the ground. And they'd queue up there. They'd queue up there until they get space to get into it.
Just one last question. Was it a safety thing for the eggs? I mean, that animals wouldn't get at them if they were in the nest?
Oh, very, very much. When you lift them up, you know, very often an odd spoiled dog around the yard used to take the eggs at times, and the shimnock, when you'd hang it up, it was very safe. It was saving all from being destroyed. It was. And I often seen above at home 6, 8 and 9 eggs in a shimnock. Yes, and there'd be more of them round about. They'd collect there, and it stopped all this hen laying out.